So whereas the queens are very aware of circles and flows of contexts and connectedness, they also long for withdrawal. They have a craving for introspection and going to the margin to find a centre, going to the margin of the group to find a centre. And being thereby very into the interior stuff, as well as being very aware of togetherness and the sense of belonging, etc. The sense of solidarity. Now the kings are more into the exterior in terms of the public eye. But they also long, as I said in the beginning, for, just being anonymous, not being seen. That's one thing. And another thing that they might crave is to be mirrored, to have a response. They would like to be mirrored, or rather they long for that. They long for being mirrored and being in interaction with people, getting a response from somebody else. And in that way, they're also being drawn towards the collective and all the others and the others. All the others, there are plenty of them, there are tons of them. There are people being very different from them, and like really different from them, and they also long for that, They long for making that connection with what is not themselves, to realise that we are all somebody. We are all centres in a huge centre or in a huge universe, which actually does not really have that many centres, really. Because what's the margin and what's outside of the margin? But that's a whole different other philosophical, astronomical discussion. Yes, so they long for being mirrored, actually, from the exterior or by the exterior. Let's have a look at the knights and the pages in this way as well, because we have a really nice page here. Hello, darling. And let's have a look. Where are you guys and girls? Yep, we have one here as well. A really beautiful garment. And so those pages, what do they long for, or how are they drawn towards something? Of course, they are drawn towards embodiment. Studying and going really into details and stuff and thinking, etc., means that they need a little bit more of that body that that the knights are so good at having it. Look at this one. I mean, my goodness. So they're drawn to that kind of embodiment that the knight is experiencing. They are also really curious about instincts and about forgetting themselves, about forgetting all of the things that they know, all of the things that they have in their minds, and simply experiencing the world in a more direct manner. Now, the knights, well, some knights actually dream of home, They long for going home. And some don't. Some like being vagabonds, forever and ever. But some are really curious about that base, or settling down, They sometimes also run into difficulties or challenges because they haven't really been planning that much. They've just, gone ahead and done it, but sometimes they realise that if you want to make that huge fire, you might either, start collecting the wood elsewhere, because where you are at the moment, it's really completely soaked from rain. So go somewhere where it didn't rain. That would have been more clever before you started making a pile of branches, on the ground. So they sort of are curious about that planning stuff, the ordering of things, and also obtaining the eye of the eagle. Stepping back for a moment and looking at yourself over time, understanding your own story, or the way that you have storied yourself, the stories that the pages are collecting and studying, all the myths, how the knights are connected with something bigger than themselves and their immediate presence. Yes. Oh yeah, and the queens. I just want to say that the queens, of course, are also challenged when they might have to help a specific person, and thereby leaving behind other people or other persons. That's a really heavy tension. Or another heavy tension for the queens would be to have to take care of themselves once in a while, and take care of their bodies, or take some days out to sleep a lot, or whatever it is, to go out, have a party, and have a drink, maybe. That's something that they sometimes find a bit difficult, because they feel that they are not solidary with the rest of their tribe when standing out like that. And the kings, on the other hand, feels that they might be neglecting themselves, or forgetting themselves, or not guarding their territories or boundaries well enough, when simply leaning back and sitting on the floor, and just falling asleep, not being on guard, not being the one who decides what everybody should do.